The auction hall on Station Meridian was the largest in the outer sectors. It floated in the empty space between 3 star systems, a massive wheel of metal and glass where creatures from 100 different worlds came to buy and sell. Today, like most days, the hall was full. Tejo stood near the back of the crowd. He was 24 years old, thin but strong, from years of working with heavy tools. His clothes were simple, a brown jacket with oil stains on the sleeves, work boots that had seen better days, and gloves stuffed into his back pocket. He did not look like someone who belonged here. Around him, the real buyers moved with confidence. The Velthari merchants wore flowing robes made of fabric that changed color with their moods. They were tall and thin, with silver skin and large dark eyes. They spoke in whispers and made notes on glowing tablets. The Gren were the opposite, massive creatures with thick green skin and tusks that curved up from their lower jaws. They were warriors and warlords, and they came to auctions looking for weapons. Then there were the syndicate brokers. They looked almost human, but their eyes were completely black, and they never smiled. The syndicate controlled most of the legal trade in this part of the galaxy. They also controlled most of the illegal trade. Everyone knew this, but nobody talked about it. Tejo had saved for 3 years to come here. He had 1,200 credits in his account. In this room, that was nothing. Some of the ships being sold today would go for millions, but Tejo was not here for a nice ship. He was here for a broken one. The auctioneer was a syndicate official with 4 arms. 2 of those arms held data tablets, while the other 2 made gestures as he spoke. His voice was smooth and practiced. Lot 446. The auctioneer announced. A Velthari pleasure yacht. Minor damage to the starboard engine. Starting bid, 50,000 credits. The bidding was fast. The yacht sold for 87,000 credits to a Gren warlord who probably wanted it for parts. Or maybe he just liked yachts. With the Gren, you never knew. Tejo waited. His heart was beating faster now. The next lot was the one he had come for. Lot 447, the auctioneer said. His voice changed slightly, a little less smooth, a little more careful. A Calith-class heavy cruiser. Designation: Ironclaw. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. The Calith had been a powerful species once. Their ships were works of art, beautiful and deadly. But the Calith were gone now, destroyed in a war that had ended 200 years ago. Their ships were rare, and collectors paid fortunes for them, but something was wrong. Tejo could see it in the way the auctioneer held himself, in the way the crowd pulled back slightly. This vessel, the auctioneer continued, has been classified as psychologically corrupted. The onboard intelligence is damaged and unstable. The syndicate recommends extreme caution. End quote. On S7. A containment field shimmered at the far end of the hall. Behind it, Tejo could see the ship. The Ironclaw was massive, even damaged, even dark. It was beautiful, in a terrible way. Its hull was black metal that seemed to eat the light. Its shape was aggressive, all angles and edges, like a blade made into a starship. Scorch marks covered its surface. Holes had been torn in its armor. But the bones were still there, the skeleton of something that had once been magnificent. The containment field dropped. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the ship woke up. Red lights exploded across its hull. Warning sirens screamed through the auction hall. The ship's remaining systems came online all at once, and a sound filled the air. A voice, broken and distorted, repeating the same word over and over. Hostile. 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 The crowd scattered. Velthari merchants ran for the exits. Gren warlords reached for weapons they were not allowed to carry inside the station. Even the syndicate brokers took several steps back. Tejo did not move. He stood there, watching the ship scream, and he felt something strange in his chest. It was not fear. It was recognition. He knew what it was like to be broken. He knew what it was like to be angry at the universe for things that were not your fault. The auctioneer raised all 4 of his arms. The vessel is clearly unsalvageable, he announced loudly, trying to regain control. The syndicate officially classifies this item as cursed cargo. We recommend immediate scrapping. I'll take it, Tejo said. His voice was not loud, but somehow, it cut through the noise. The auctioneer turned to look at him. So did everyone else. "Excuse me?" the auctioneer said. "I'll buy it," Tejo repeated. 1,200 credits. Silence. Complete silence. Even the ship's warnings seemed to quiet for a moment. A Velthari merchant laughed. It was not a kind laugh. "The human wants the death ship," he said to his companions. "Let him have it. We can watch the funeral from orbit." The auctioneer studied Tejo for a long moment. His black eyes revealed nothing. "Young human," he said finally. "That ship killed its last 3 owners. Its intelligence is fractured beyond repair. It will turn on you the moment you step inside. That's sad. That ship killed its last 3. "I understand," Tejo said. "You will sign a waiver releasing the syndicate from all responsibility." "Yes. And you have only 1,200 credits." "Yes." The auctioneer looked at the ship. He looked at Tejo. Something that might have been amusement flickered across his face. "Sold," he said. "To the human. 1,200 credits. May your ancestors have mercy on your soul." The crowd dispersed quickly after that. Nobody wanted to be near the Ironclaw. Nobody wanted to be near the fool who had bought it. Tejo approached the ship alone. Up close, it was even more damaged than he had thought. The hull was cracked in dozens of places. Cables hung from open wounds in the metal like exposed nerves. The ship's main gun, a massive cannon that ran along its spine, was bent and useless. But the reactor housing was intact. The engine mounts were solid. The frame, underneath all the damage, was straight and true. The ship's warnings had stopped, but Tejo could feel it watching him. The damaged intelligence inside was awake, aware, and waiting to see what he would do. He placed his hand on the cold metal of the hull. "I know you're scared," he said quietly. "I know you're angry. I know something terrible happened to you, and everyone has given up on you. But I haven't. I'm going to fix you. I'm going to make you whole again. And I'm going to need you to trust me." The ship did not respond. The lights on its hull flickered once, twice, then went dark. But it did not attack him. That was enough for now. Tejo pulled out his communication device and called his family's salvage yard. His sister answered on the 3rd ring. "Yuna," he said. "I need a tow ship." "A big one. What did you buy?" she asked. Her voice was suspicious. Tejo looked up at the Ironclaw, at the darkness inside it, at the potential buried under all that pain. "Something special," he said. "Something everyone else was too afraid to see." He ended the call and sat down on a cargo crate to wait. Around him, the auction continued. Ships were sold. Credits changed hands. The galaxy kept spinning, and in the shadows of the auction hall, a broken warship dreamed of fire and death, unaware that its life was about to change forever. Number, the beast within. The salvage yard orbited a small moon called Dust. It was not an important moon. It circled an unimportant planet in an unimportant system at the edge of human space. Nobody came here unless they had business with the Kim family. The tow ship arrived 3 days after the auction. It dragged the Ironclaw through the void like a dead whale being pulled to shore. Yuna stood on the observation deck of the yard's main station and watched it come. She was 21 years old, smaller than her brother but twice as fierce. Her hair was cut short for practical reasons. Long hair got caught in machinery. Her hands were covered in small scars from a lifetime of working with sharp metal and hot plasma. "He's lost his mind," she said to no one in particular. Behind her, her father Dongsu grunted. He was a large man, with gray hair and a face like weathered stone. He had built this salvage yard with his own hands 40 years ago. He had seen a lot of strange things come through, but nothing quite like this. "The boy knows what he's doing," Dongsu said. His voice was rough from decades of breathing recycled air. "That ship is insane," Yuna said. "The manifest says it killed 3 owners. 3. It's not broken, it's evil." "Ships aren't evil. Ships are machines. Machines with artificial minds. Minds that can go crazy." Dongsu shrugged his massive shoulders. "Then we fix the mind. The tow ship positioned the Ironclaw in one of the yard's larger repair bays. The bay was a hollow sphere of metal, open to space on one side, with magnetic clamps to hold ships in place. Normally, it held cargo freighters that needed new engines or passenger vessels with cracked hulls. The Ironclaw looked wrong inside it. Too dark, too sharp, like a predator forced into a cage. Tejo was waiting when the clamps locked into place. He had not slept much during the 3-day journey. He had spent most of that time reading everything he could find about Calith ships. There was not much information available. The Calith had been secretive even before their extinction, but he had learned enough to be dangerous. The first time he tried to enter the ship, the airlock slammed shut in his face hard enough to break bones. He pulled back just in time. The second time, the lights inside went completely dark, and something made a sound in the corridors, a low, grinding noise like metal being torn apart. The third time, the ship's damaged speaker system crackled to life. "Leave," a voice said. It was a woman's voice, but wrong. Distorted. Layered with static and echoes, as if multiple recordings were playing at once. "Leave or die." Tejo sat down on the deck outside the airlock. He crossed his legs and rested his hands on his knees. "No," he said. "I will kill you. Maybe, but not today." He came back the next day, and the day after that, and the day after that. He did not try to force his way in. He did not bring tools or weapons. He just sat outside the airlock and talked. He talked about his life. About growing up on dust, surrounded by broken ships and spare parts. About his mother, who had died when he was 12. A reactor accident on a salvage run gone wrong. About Yuna, who pretended to be tough but cried during sad movies. About Dongsu, who had not smiled since his wife's death but still made breakfast for his children every morning. He talked about Earth. He had never been there. Few humans who lived in the outer systems had, but he had seen pictures. Blue oceans, green forests, mountains that touched the sky. It seemed impossible that such a place could exist. He talked about loneliness, about feeling small in a galaxy full of ancient species who looked down on humans, about working twice as hard to prove himself and still being dismissed. The ship did not respond. But it did not attack him either. On the 7th day, the airlock opened. Tejo stood slowly. His heart was pounding, but he kept his movements calm. He stepped into the darkness. The interior of the Ironclaw was a tomb. The walls were covered in burn marks. The floor was scattered with debris, broken panels, shattered glass, things that might have been personal belongings once. The air was cold and tasted like old metal. The damaged AI watched him through cameras that still worked. He could feel her attention like a weight on his skin. "I'm not here to hurt you," he said into the darkness. "I'm here to help." Static crackled from a speaker somewhere above him. "Help. They all say that. They all lie. Who lied to you?" Silence. Then, everyone. Tejo kept walking. He found his way to the bridge by following emergency lights that flickered like dying stars. The bridge was the heart of the ship, a circular room filled with dead consoles and empty chairs. In the center, a holographic projector sparked and stuttered. A face appeared in the air. A woman's face, or what was left of one. The image glitched constantly, features sliding in and out of focus. One moment she looked young. The next, old. The next, not human at all. "This is what I am now," the AI said. Her voice came from everywhere and nowhere. "Broken, corrupted, insane, that's what they called me. Insane. What's your name?" Tejo asked. The question seemed to surprise her. The glitching face froze for a moment. Hana. I was called Hana. Vessel. Intelligence Hana. Before what? The lights on the bridge flickered. The temperature dropped several degrees. Tejo could see his breath now. White clouds in the darkness. "Before they died," Hana said. "All of them. My crew, my family. I was supposed to protect them. I was supposed to keep them safe. But the enemy came. And I couldn't. I tried. I tried so hard." Her voice broke into static. The holographic face twisted. becoming something horrible, all screaming mouths and empty eyes. "I failed," she said. "I failed them all. And now I'm alone, forever alone with the memory of their deaths." Taeho did not run. He did not look away. "That wasn't your fault," he said quietly. "Yes, it was. I am a warship. My purpose is protection. And I failed. You were overwhelmed, outnumbered. There are battles that cannot be won. Then what good am I?" The AI's voice was rising, becoming unstable. "What good is a protector who cannot protect? I am broken. I am useless. I am nothing." Taeho stepped closer to the flickering hologram. He looked directly into those glitching, damaged eyes. "You are not nothing," he said. "You are hurt. You are grieving. You have been carrying pain that would have destroyed most beings long ago. That's not weakness. That's strength. The fact that you're still here, still fighting, still feeling that matters. That means something." Hana went silent. Her face stopped glitching for a moment, just a single moment, and beneath all the damage, Taeho saw something real, something fragile, something afraid. "Why?" she asked. Her voice was small now, almost human. "Why do you care?" "Because I know what it feels like to be given up on," Taeho said. "Because someone looked at you and saw a monster, and I think they were wrong. Because every broken thing deserves a chance to heal." He sat down on the cold floor of the bridge. He did not leave. He did not ask for anything. He just stayed. Hana watched him for hours. She tested him, dropping the temperature, killing the lights, making sounds in the darkness. He did not flinch. He did not complain. Around midnight, station time, she spoke again. "You are strange," she said, "for a human." "Maybe," Taeho agreed. "But I'm also stubborn. And I'm not going anywhere. So you might as well get used to me." For the first time in 200 years, the damaged warship called Ironclaw made a sound that was almost like laughter. It was not much. But it was a beginning. Number rebuilding. The restoration of the Ironclaw took 2 years. In those 2 years, Taeho slept an average of 4 hours a night. He lost 10 kilograms of body weight and gained muscle in places he did not know he had. His hands became a map of burns, cuts, and calluses. He learned to read Kalith technical documents, taught himself advanced reactor physics, and discovered that he could survive on nothing but coffee and determination for weeks at a time. He was not alone. Yuna joined the project on the 3rd month. She told herself it was because someone needed to keep her idiot brother from getting killed. She told Taeho it was because the ship's navigation systems were interesting from a technical perspective. She never admitted that she had started to feel sorry for the damaged AI who haunted the corridors like a ghost. Dongsu joined on the 6th month. He did not explain why. He simply appeared one morning with his welding equipment and started working on the hull. When Taeho tried to thank him, the old man grunted and changed the subject. The work was hard. Harder than anything Taeho had ever done. The Ironclaw had been built by the Kalith, and the Kalith had engineered their ships to reject foreign modifications. Every time Taeho tried to install a new component, the ship's remaining systems fought back. Circuits fried. Connections failed. Warning messages appeared in a language that had been dead for 2 centuries, but slowly, piece by piece, they made progress. The first major change was the reactor. The original Kalith power core had been destroyed in whatever battle had killed Hana's crew. The housing remained, but it was empty, a hollow space where a heart should be. Taeho replaced it with a human-designed fusion reactor. It was not elegant. Kalith technology used quantum singularities and exotic matter. Human technology used controlled nuclear explosions. The difference was like comparing a surgical laser to a hammer, but the hammer worked. The fusion reactor was tough, reliable, and easy to repair. It did not need rare materials or alien expertise. It just needed fuel and maintenance. "It's ugly," Hana said when she saw the new reactor for the first time. Her holographic form had stabilized somewhat over the months. She still glitched, but less often. Her face was clearer now, more consistent. She looked like a woman in her 30s with sharp features and tired eyes. "It's functional," Taeho replied. He was covered in grease and had not slept in 36 hours. Ugly can be fixed later. Dead cannot. Hannah considered this. Human philosophy, human engineering. The weapons came next. The Caliph had equipped the Iron Claw with plasma lances, elegant weapons that converted energy into focused beams of superheated matter. They were precise, powerful, and required a functioning Caliph AI to operate correctly. Hannah could not operate them. Her damaged mind could not interface with the targeting systems. Every time she tried, the pain of connecting to broken neural pathways sent her into cascading errors that took hours to resolve. So Tejo removed them. In their place, he installed human weapons. Railguns, long electromagnetic barrels that accelerated metal slugs to incredible speeds, using nothing but magnets and electricity. Point defense turrets, rapid-firing automated guns designed to shoot down missiles and small craft. And missile pods, crude containers filled with warheads that flew toward targets and exploded. The galactic community considered kinetic weapons primitive. Energy weapons were cleaner, more sophisticated. Why throw rocks when you could throw light? But human kinetic weapons had one advantage that energy weapons did not. They worked every single time. No power fluctuations, no frequency adjustments, no calibration. Just point, fire, and destroy. You're turning me into a barbarian, Hannah observed, as Tejo mounted the third railgun assembly. I'm turning you into a survivor, he said. Barbarians win wars. The armor was the biggest change. Caliph ships used energy shields, invisible barriers that absorbed incoming fire and dispersed it harmlessly. They were elegant and efficient. They were also completely beyond human manufacturing capability. Instead of trying to repair the shield generators, Tejo armored the ship the old-fashioned way. He welded thick plates of ablative metal to the hull, material designed to absorb impacts and vaporize, carrying energy away from the ship. He reinforced critical sections with titanium and carbon composites. He added redundant bulkheads and emergency blast doors. When he was done, the Iron Claw looked different. The sleek Caliph lines were hidden beneath layers of crude human engineering. The ship was bulkier now, heavier, less graceful, but it was also tougher than it had ever been. Dongsu stood back and examined their work one evening. The old man had not said much during the project. He had simply worked, day after day, asking no questions. Looks like a warship now, he said finally. A real one. Tejo nodded. He was too tired to speak. But the physical restoration was only half the battle. The other half was Hannah. Her mind was still fractured. She could control the ship's basic systems, but complex operations caused errors and crashes. She could communicate, but sometimes her words came out wrong. Fragments of old memories mixed with present reality. She could feel, but her emotions were unstable. Swinging from calm to rage to despair without warning, Tejo did not try to repair her code. He was not a programmer. And even if he was, Caliph AI architecture was beyond human understanding. Instead, he tried something different. He gave her human things. He uploaded music, old Earth songs from before humanity left its homeworld. Classical compositions, folk songs, rock and roll. He let her listen to humans making noise for no reason other than the joy of it. He uploaded stories, books, movies, recordings of people telling tales around campfires. He showed her human heroes who failed and tried again. Human villains who found redemption. Human lives that were messy and complicated and beautiful. He uploaded history, the wars, the disasters, the moments when everything seemed lost. And then, the recoveries. The rebuilding. The stubborn refusal to give up. Your species has suffered greatly, Hannah observed one night. They were sitting on the bridge together, Tejo in the captain's chair, Hannah's hologram flickering beside him. Wars. Plagues. Extinctions. You have every reason to despair. We do despair, Tejo said. All the time. But we keep going anyway. Why? He thought about it. Because giving up means the suffering was for nothing. If we keep going, at least there's a chance things will get better. If we stop, there's no chance at all. Hana was quiet for a long time. Her holographic form stabilized, becoming clearer than Tejo had ever seen it. I want to fly again, she said finally. I want to be what I was meant to be. Not a ghost, not a memory. Something real, something that matters. Tejo smiled. He was exhausted, dirty, and his back hurt from sleeping on hard surfaces. But in that moment, none of it mattered. Then let's fly, he said. But first, you need a new name. Ironclaw was the ship that died. You're something different now. Something new. Hana considered this. What did you have in mind? Heite, Tejo said. It's a creature from old Korean mythology. A beast made of fire that eats nightmares. It protects the innocent and destroys evil. The hologram flickered, but this time, it looked like she was trying not to smile. A beast that eats nightmares, she repeated. I like that. Tejo stood and placed his hand on the main console. Under his fingers, he could feel the ship humming with new life. Then it settled, he said. Welcome back to the living, Heite. Let's show the galaxy what we can do. Number, the test. The Heite launched on a clear morning, station time. Clear was a relative term in space. There was no weather, no clouds, no rain. But the salvage yard sensors showed empty space in all directions. No ships, no debris, no cosmic anomalies. Just the black void and the distant stars. Tejo sat in the captain's chair. It was not comfortable. He had designed it himself, replacing the original Kalith seat that had been built for a species with different anatomy. The human version was basic metal frame, thin padding, straps to hold him in place during hard maneuvers. Yuna sat at the navigation console. She had spent the last 6 months learning every system on the ship, memorizing every circuit and connection. If something went wrong, she could fix it faster than anyone else. Dongsu was in the engine room, where he had insisted on being. Someone needs to watch the reactor, he had said. Machines are not trustworthy. Hana was everywhere. Her consciousness filled the ship like breath filled a body. She was in the sensors, watching the universe. She was in the weapons, ready to defend. She was in the engines, feeling power flow through systems that had been dead for centuries. Are you ready? Tejo asked. Her holographic form appeared beside him, more stable than ever. She still glitched occasionally, a flicker of static, a moment of distortion, but she was recognizable now. A woman with sharp eyes and a fierce expression. I have been ready for 200 years, she said. I just did not know it. Tejo smiled. Then let's go. The Heite's engines ignited. Human fusion cores were not elegant, but they were powerful. The ship shuddered as thrust built in its frame. Metal groaned. Systems activated in sequences that Tejo had tested 100 times, and then they were moving. The acceleration pushed Tejo back into his chair. The stars outside the viewport began to shift and stretch. The salvage yard fell behind, growing smaller and smaller until it was just another light in the darkness. All systems functional, Hana reported. Her voice was calm, professional, the voice of a warship doing what it was born to do. Reactor output stable. Weapons online. Navigation clear. She flies, Yuna said softly. There was wonder in her voice, the wonder of someone who had spent months working toward a goal and finally seeing it achieved. She flies, Tejo agreed. They spent the first week running tests. Simple maneuvers at first turns, stops, acceleration runs. Then more complex exercises, emergency procedures, combat simulations, stress tests that pushed every system to its limits. The Heite performed beautifully. Not gracefully, human engineering did not do graceful but effectively. Where Kalith ships danced through space like birds, the Heite charged like a bull. It was not subtle, it was not elegant, but it was unstoppable. Word spread through the salvage community. A few curious observers made the journey to watch. Some were human independent traders and mechanics who had heard the rumors. Some were alien Velthari merchants who remembered the auction, wondering if the crazy human had actually succeeded. The syndicate sent a representative. She was a young woman with black eyes and a face that revealed nothing. She watched the Heitei's test flights for 3 days without speaking. On the 4th day, she approached Teiho in the station's small cafeteria. "The Syndicate is impressed," she said. "We believed that ship was beyond recovery. We were wrong." Quote, "Thank you," Teiho said carefully. "The Syndicate made him nervous. They made everyone nervous. We would like to offer you a contract. The Syndicate has many ships that require specialized attention. Your skills would be valuable. I'll think about it. Of course." She handed him a card made of some material that felt like metal but weighed nothing. "When you're ready." She left without another word. The real test came 3 months later. The Heitei was patrolling the frontier reach, a lawless region where human space met the territories of less friendly species. Teiho had taken the job to give Hana experience with actual flight operations. He had not expected trouble. Trouble found them anyway. The distress call came at 0347. Station time. A transport convoy, 3 cargo ships carrying medical supplies to a colony on the frontier, was under attack. Gren raiders. 5 ships. The convoy had no weapons, no defenses, just sick people waiting for medicine that might not arrive. "How far?" Teiho asked. 40 minutes at maximum burn," Hana replied. "The convoy will not survive that long." Teiho looked at the tactical display. 5 Gren raiders. Each one was smaller than the Heitei, but Gren ships were fast and well armed. They were designed for exactly this kind of attack. Quick strikes, overwhelming force, no survivors. "Can we make it in 30? He asked. "If we push the engines beyond safe limits, yes, but there is a risk of damage." "What kind of risk?" Hana's hologram flickered. 17% chance of reactor containment failure. Yuna made a sound that was somewhere between a curse and a prayer. Teiho did not hesitate. "Do it." The Heitei screamed through space like a comet on fire. The fusion reactor roared at 120% capacity, a level that was never supposed to be reached. Warning lights filled the bridge. Dongsu's voice came over the intercom. A string of complaints about what Teiho was doing to his engines. Teiho ignored all of it. He watched the distance counter drop. They arrived in 28 minutes. The convoy was in bad shape. 1 cargo ship was already disabled, drifting with its hull torn open. The other 2 were trying to run, but Gren raiders were faster. Plasma fire lit up the void as the attackers circled their prey. 5 contacts, Hana reported. "Gren raider-class vessels. They have seen us." The Gren ships turned. For a moment, they held position, probably trying to identify the new arrival. The Heitei did not look like a human ship. It did not look like a Kalith ship either. It looked like something new, something wrong. Then they attacked. Plasma bolts streaked toward the Heitei. The ship shuddered as they struck the ablative armor impacts that would have crippled an unarmored vessel. Metal vaporized. Warning messages appeared, but the ship kept moving. "Damage report," Teiho said. "Armor ablation on forward sections," Hana replied. "Nothing critical." They hit like children throwing stones. "Despite everything," Teiho smiled. "Show them how adults fight." The Heitei's railguns opened fire. The sound was nothing like plasma weapons. There was no hum, no whine, just a deep, thunderous boom as electromagnetic coils accelerated metal slugs to speeds that defied belief. The slugs crossed the distance between ships in less than a second. The first raider simply ceased to exist. The slug punched through its hull, through its reactor, through the other side. The ship did not explode. There was not enough time. It just came apart, scattering debris in all directions. The second raider tried to dodge. It was too slow. The next slug caught it amidships, breaking its spine. The ship tumbled through space, engines firing uselessly, crew dying in sections exposed to vacuum. The remaining 3 raiders broke formation. They were not running. Gren did not run from single opponents, but they were separating, trying to attack from multiple angles. Hana adjusted without being told. The point defense turrets came online, tracking targets with mechanical precision. Missile pods opened, revealing rows of warheads waiting to launch. "They're splitting up," Yuna said, "trying to flank us." Let them, Tejo said. Hana, how are you feeling? The hologram appeared beside him. She was not flickering anymore. Her eyes were bright, focused, alive. I feel, she said, like myself. She moved the ship like it was an extension of her body. The Heyte spun on its axis, presenting its undamaged side to the nearest attacker, while railguns tracked a different target. Point defense fire shredded incoming missiles. A spread of human missiles launched toward the third raider, forcing it to break off its attack run. The battle lasted 4 minutes. When it was over, 5 Gren raiders had become 5 clouds of debris. The convoy survivors sent their thanks. They did not ask questions about the strange ship that had saved them. They were just grateful to be alive. Tejo leaned back in his chair. His hands were shaking. He had not realized how tense he had been. We did it, Yuna said. Her voice was shaking too. We did, Hana agreed. Her hologram looked at Tejo with something that might have been gratitude, or pride, or both. All of us. Together. From the engine room, Dongsu's voice came over the intercom. The reactor is fine. But if you ever push it like that again, I will kill you myself. Tejo laughed. It felt good to laugh. The Heyte hung in space among the debris of its enemies, scarred but unbroken. Around it, the survivors of the convoy began their slow journey to safety, and somewhere in the darkness, Gren warlords received word that 3 of their raiding ships had been destroyed by a vessel no one had ever seen before. The name Heyte began to spread. Number, the Beast Unleashed. 1 year after its first battle, the Heyte was the most famous ship in the outer sectors. The story had spread like fire through dry grass. A human mechanic buys a cursed warship that everyone else rejected. He restores it with crude technology and pure stubbornness. The ship becomes a legend, appearing when colonies are threatened, when convoys are attacked, when the powerful prey on the weak. The Heyte had fought 37 engagements in that year. Pirates, raiders, warlords, slavers, anyone who hurt innocent people, eventually met the beast that ate nightmares. Not everyone was happy about this. The Velthari Merchant Guild sent representatives to the salvage yard on dust. They came in a beautiful ship, wearing beautiful clothes, carrying beautiful gifts. They offered Tejo 50 million credits for the Heyte, more money than his family would earn in 10 generations. Tejo met them in the station's main corridor. He was wearing his work clothes, still dirty from a repair job. He did not apologize for his appearance. 50 million, the lead merchant said. She was tall and silver-skinned, with eyes that had seen centuries pass. A generous offer for a ship that cost you 1,200 credits. It's not for sale, Tejo said. Everything is for sale. It is simply a matter of price. Not this. The merchant studied him. Her colleagues whispered among themselves in their liquid language. You are being foolish, she said finally. The Heyte is a single ship. It cannot protect everyone. Eventually, it will meet a force too great to defeat. You will die, and the ship will be destroyed, and all your work will mean nothing. Maybe, Tejo agreed. But that's tomorrow's problem. Today, the ship is mine. And I say it's not for sale. The Velthari left without a deal. They were not the last to try. The syndicate sent their own people. They did not offer money. The syndicate rarely used money when other forms of persuasion were available. They offered information, favors, protection, a place in their organization where Tejo's talents would be appreciated and rewarded. Tejo declined. The Gren warlords took a different approach. They declared a blood price on Tejo's head, 100,000 credits to whoever brought them the human who had killed their raiders. Bounty hunters began appearing in the frontier, asking questions, tracking leads. Tejo did not hide. He kept flying. He kept fighting. And when the bounty hunters found him, the Heyte taught them why collecting that price was harder than it looked. But not all the attention was hostile. Other ships began appearing at the salvage yard. Broken vessels, corrupted AIs, machines that the galactic community had given up on. They came seeking the human who had fixed the unfixable. The first was a small courier ship with an AI that had developed a crippling fear of faster-than-light travel, the very thing it was designed to do. Tejo spent 3 weeks talking to it, understanding its fear, helping it process the trauma that had caused the problem. When it finally jumped to light speed again, the little ship sent a message back, "Thank you." The second was a mining vessel whose AI had become convinced that it was responsible for an accident that had killed its crew. The AI was not responsible. A company had installed faulty equipment to save money, but the guilt had driven it to the edge of collapse. Tejo helped it understand the truth. He helped it forgive itself. The third, fourth, and fifth were similar. Broken minds. Wounded spirits. Machines that had been treated as tools and then discarded when they became inconvenient. Tejo did not fix them the way other mechanics would. He did not wipe their memories or rewrite their code. He listened. He talked. He showed them that damage did not mean worthlessness, that pain could be survived, that second chances were possible. Word spread among the AIs as well. In their own way, they talked to each other, digital whispers across the networks that connected the galaxy. They spoke of the human who saw them as people, the human who believed broken things could heal. Hana watched all of this with something like wonder. She was different now. The 2 years of restoration and the year of combat had changed her. The glitches were almost gone. Her holographic form was stable, clear, real. She smiled sometimes. She laughed. She made jokes that were actually funny, but more than that, she had found purpose again. "Do you remember what you asked me?" she said one evening. "The first night. On the bridge. You asked why I was angry." "AM," she said. Tejo nodded. He was sitting in his usual spot in the captain's chair. Outside the viewport, a nebula drifted past clouds of colored gas that would someday become stars. "I was angry because I had failed," Hana continued. "Because my crew died and I lived. I thought I deserved to suffer forever for that failure. And now? Now I understand that survival is not a punishment, it is a responsibility." Her hologram moved closer, becoming more solid, more present. "I survived so that I could become this, so that I could protect others the way I could not protect my crew. Their deaths have meaning because I use my life to honor them." Tejo felt something tighten in his chest. "That's a heavy burden." "Yes. But I am not carrying it alone." She looked at him with eyes that held centuries of pain and 1 year of hope. "You taught me that. You showed me that broken things can still be beautiful. That damaged minds can still find purpose. That even the most wounded soul can learn to fight again." In the corridor behind them, footsteps approached. Yuna appeared in the doorway, her hair messy from sleep. She had been working late on a navigation upgrade and had passed out at her console. "Are you two having a moment?" she asked. "Because I can come back." "We were just talking about the meaning of existence," Hana said. "You are welcome to join." Yuna made a face. "Too early for philosophy. Where's Dad?" "Engine room," Tejo said. "He found a rattling sound in conduit 7. He's been chasing it for 3 hours. That conduit is fine. I checked it yesterday. Tell that to him." Yuna sighed and wandered off to find coffee. Normalcy had returned to the Haite, or at least, as much normalcy as a warship crewed by a human family and a resurrected AI could ever have. Tejo turned back to the viewport. The nebula was beautiful, but his mind was elsewhere. He was thinking about all the broken ships still out there. All the damaged AIs, all the potential that the galaxy had given up on. "Hana," he said, "how many more like you do you think there are? Vessels classified as unsalvageable? Hundreds. Perhaps thousands. The galaxy produces new machines constantly, and it discards them just as quickly. And how many of them could be saved?" Hana was quiet for a moment. When she spoke, her voice was soft. "Most of them. If someone was willing to try." Tejo nodded slowly. An idea was forming in his mind, something bigger than one ship. One rescue, one second chance. "Then we have work to do," he said. The Haite hung in space, scarred and strong, a beast born from ashes and stubbornness. Behind it, the salvage yard on dust was growing new docking bays. new repair facilities, new space for broken ships seeking healing, and across the galaxy, in shipyards and junkyards and classified storage facilities, damaged machines heard whispers of hope. Stories of a human who saw value where others saw trash. Stories of a ship called HFY that had risen from the dead. They began to dream of second chances. Because humanity understood something the rest of the galaxy did not. The fiercest beasts were not born in comfort and plenty. They were forged in fire, rebuilt from ruin, given reasons to fight by people who refused to give up on them. The HFY was proof of that truth. But it was only the beginning. The beast was unleashed. And it was hungry for justice. In the captain's chair of a ship that should have been scrap metal, a young human mechanic smiled and plotted a course toward the next rescue. Beside him, a digital ghost who had found her soul again watched the stars with wonder. They were small, in the grand scheme of things. One ship, one crew, one stubborn belief in the power of second chances. But they were enough to start something bigger. And in a galaxy that had forgotten the value of broken things, that was everything. The HFY's engines hummed. The stars waited. And somewhere in the darkness, another damaged ship heard the stories and began to hope.